UFC Vegas 83. This is the weigh-in recap show, full card predictions, and the betting breakdown. Really looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card after seeing the fighters on the scales. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. And also note, I'll be live for the entire UFC Vegas 83 fight card Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Do not miss the fight companion, guys. You know I love the fight companions. And come enjoy the beautiful violence with me. Without further ado, let's get into it. First fight of the night, we have Amanda versus Talita Alencar. I'm picking the side of Amanda because I know that she has a competent grappling game, and Alencar is simply just one-dimensional with her skill set. She's very good on the floor with jiu-jitsu. I would say her striking is pretty mid-tier to even like slightly above the novice level. She's not a good striker. That's not what her game is built upon. She has very good jiu-jitsu. She's taking on a very competent MMA fighter that's younger than her and also has 4 times the MMA experience. And you dig back to her loss on the Contender Series being Amanda, Denise Gomes, and she gave her a fair fight. She's the Invicta FC Atomweight champion. Obviously, this fight's a strawweight bout here, but both of these girls could easily be women's atomweights if that was a UFC weight class. It's not, so they're fighting here at strawweight. I like Amanda to get it done. I think she wins this hard-fought decision. I think Alencar threatens with some grappling. Amanda's takedown defense is on point. She's able to outstrike Alencar, and even a fatigued Alencar gets put on her back and takes some damage from Amanda. So I'm feeling pretty good about Amanda winning. Alencar just not experienced enough. Draw on Contender Series against Luciano. She wasn't even picked up from the show initially. She got signed later. There is Alencar, who ultimately looks good on the scales, as does Amanda. Both these girls look good. I like the look of both of them. They're ready to rock. And then we got a nice face-off here. The scales are not going to change my mind about anything. Neither of these girls have significant weight cuts to make 115 pounds. Like I said, I think they both could be fighting at women's atom weight. And I'm picking Amanda with the Invicta FC championship experience. I think she can get this one done. So Amanda for the W. She is a minus 162 favorite, ranging around that point, to Alencar plus 142 as the dog. Amanda, it's a women's fight nonetheless, right? And it's debuting girls, but I do think Amanda can get the win. Alencar has excellent BJJ, but when faced against somebody with this much experience and competency on the ground, I think she's in trouble. I mean, she had a draw last time out with Luciano, who didn't have a ton of pro experience. And now we got Amanda, who I think is arguably a pretty clear step up in competition. I think she gets it done. Amanda for the W. Probably over 2.5 at minus 180. And then Amanda to win by a decision in this spot is plus 175. Ultimately, if you told me what is my most confident line between what I've listed off, I would say just money line, Amanda to get the win over Talita Alencar here. I am just curious to look at it, just the submission props for either girl. Amanda by sub is plus 425, Alencar by sub plus 350, a bit lower. Yeah, Amanda should win this fight. I'm going to say decision officially, but the money line would be the A side if you're looking to throw down on this ladies fight. First fight of the night, definitely, bet cautiously and intelligently because they're debuting girls. Next matchup on the card, we have Tatsuro Taira versus Carlos Hernandez. I'm picking Tatsuro Taira to get the win in this spot here. He should have a pretty substantial and clear-cut grappling advantage that he's going to show. I feel like Hernandez gets his back taken. I think he's live to be submitted in the first round. Ultimately, Tatsuro Taira had a questionable outing last time against Edgar Chairez, but nonetheless, Edgar Chairez has, I think, a better submission threat game, specifically with the guillotine, than the side of Carlos Hernandez. Taira was locked in a guillotine late in that fight, with Edgar Chairez having a mounted guillotine at the final bell. Next fight, Edgar Chairez locks up a guillotine and submits Daniel Lacerda da Silva. Granted, officially it didn't count because the referee jumped in early, but he did have a fully locked standing guillotine. I don't think Hernandez has a submission threat. I don't think he's a heavy power puncher. And I feel like he's not going to be able to avoid the takedowns all night long and out kickbox Tatsuro Taira. So I'm going Tatsuro to get the win. I'm believing in the Japanese prospect, though the UFC is taking their time to marinate his skill set. They're in no rush to move him up the ranks. We can look at his recent UFC opponents: Carlos Candelario, CJ Vergara, Jesus Aguilar, and Edgar Chairez. Arguably, this fight right here, I would say, is similar level to what he's faced before. Probably his last fight, Chairez, being the biggest test. I think Hernandez is not an easy out per se, but he's got a recent loss to Alan Nascimento by submission, and I expect Taira to look at that footage and say, okay, let's try to get the back early on, and we can lock up a rear naked choke too. Let's check these guys out on the scales. Let's scroll it down. There is Hernandez. There is Tatsuro Blonde Taira. Blonde Taira, man, he kind of looks like a Takanori Gomi type vibe mixed with like an anime character. There's definitely a market to build him. He's only 23, which is why they're taking a lot of time, and they want to grow the Japanese market. There's the face off here. Both guys are thin. I mean, it's flyweights. Neither of these guys are jacked. They're both skinny dudes that can kick some ass, smaller guys overall. But I think that Tatsuro's slickness on the ground is a substantial factor. And also note about flyweights, specifically like a Carlos Hernandez, there's not a substantial power punching threat on the side of Hernandez that I think could be like a real monkey wrench in the game plan for Taira of him getting stunned on the feet. I just don't think it's all that likely. I don't feel like Hernandez hits with that much pop. So I'm going to say Tatsuro should be able to implement grappling heavy attack and win by sub. Now, he's a disgustingly wide favorite, minus 600 for Tatsuro Taira to Carlos Hernandez at plus 425. The odds are crazy wide here, but it's because there's a clear path to victory, and this is a setup fight. They want Taira to win to build the Japanese market. Over 1.5 is minus 185. I think it is live to go less than 1.5 rounds. I think first round sub is live here, but note that Taira's won decisions and he's still only 23. It would just be if you're chasing plus money, it is plus 155 for the under, and there's a real possibility he submits Hernandez under 1.5. Now, looking at the win for Tatsuro Taira by submission, minus 110. I will call officially submission win here. I think he can pull off a sub. He has won decisions before, I know, but he's got a submission over CJ Vergara. That's impressive to me. And I think he could sub up Carlos Hernandez here. So we're going Tatsuro Taira win submission in our second fight of the night. Let's keep running up the card. Next fight on it, we have ladies going after it here. We have Stephanie Egger versus Luana Santos. Right out the gate, I got to tell you, Luana Santos came in way over the women's bantamweight limit. She came in at 139. That's crazy. That's a huge weight miss. 3 pounds above it. And she's only 23. So if she's struggling to make weight now, I can't imagine as she gets later into her career. Like, she seems like maybe she's a women's featherweight. I'm picking Stephanie Egger. She's 35. She's got good takedown defense. Like, I know, oh, damn, 35. Probably past her prime. And, the side of Luana Santos is 23. But 23 is like infancy in the game. And I know last fight, I'm picking a 23-year-old in Tatsuro Taira. Different fight, women's matchup, less experienced Luana Santos. Stephanie Egger has a competent grappling game. She has a win in her, 2 fights ago? It was a submission of Eileen Perez, who's pretty strong on the ground. Yeah, she has some losses. Bueno Silva, who's fighting for the title, and she got caught in a weird knee bar by Alex Siva. I don't think Luana Santos is rolling knee barring her. I don't feel like that's happening. I think Stephanie Egger, the judo base will come in handy against the jiu-jitsu skill set. And I think Egger can win a hard-fought decision and upset Luana Santos. And let's be honest, Santos could potentially feel the effects of this fight if she had a subpar camp. Don't know exactly why the weight miss was. We'll check her out on the scale in a moment, but Egger could potentially get the back and finish a tired Santos later in the fight. Let's look at the scales, all right? Let's check them out. Luana Santos being off weight here. There is Stephanie Egger, who's rocking the brown hair. Listen, mythical fighter, brunette, Stephanie Egger. I mean, she honestly looks more attractive with the brunette hair too. I think she'll be more menacing in the cage. And then we got Luana Santos, who's smiling after a weight miss. Looks pudgy around the midsection here. Seems to be carrying a little fat in her face. I don't know. It might be her time of the month. Might be having a bit of bloating. I don't know exactly why there was a weight miss, but it was a pretty clear weight miss here. And then Egger still looks like the bigger girl. and then they face off. I think Stephanie Egger is a pretty live underdog here. Santos very on weight. Now we're going to question the camp. There's a lot of big question marks. She's 23 years old, and I definitely don't think, even if you're against my pick of Stephanie Egger, I don't think you can tell me with substantial confidence that you're backing Luana Santos heavy. On the opposite side, dog plus 133, Stephanie Egger, women's fight. I think she's an extremely live underdog in this spot, and I like Stephanie Egger's chances to win. Over 2.5 rounds is minus 155 here. Looking at Egger to win this fight by a decision, plus 325, just money line it. If you're going to throw down in this one, if you're with me on the underdog, or you even just like the plus money spot, I think Egger straight money line is your best attack. Like, just to be a D-gen, looking at Egger by sub, it's plus 500, and it could come to fruition because she submitted Haqparast, who's really good on the ground. But nonetheless, Luana Santos might be a little slicker with her pure jits than like an Haqparast. But I could see her gassing, coming in at 139. Nonetheless, though, guys, trust me, money line, best side. I support the money line of these ladies. I'm going for Stephanie Egger, underdog in this fight. Here is the pick. Next fight on the card, we got Steve Garcia versus Melquizael Costa. This fight was supposed to take place last week at 145 pounds. Garcia got sick. We're doing it now at 55 a week later. I'm picking Melquizael Costa again. I'm riding with my initial lean. I definitely think that he's the technically superior fighter, kickboxing-wise and even jiu-jitsu-wise. Steve Garcia ultimately would just have the puncher's chance because he is heavy-handed. He's got some power, but he's also hittable, and he's been hurt in fights. He was hurt against Shailan Nordenbeke badly, and he ended up getting a comeback knockout there. There's Steve Garcia. Looks solid on the scale. Melquizael Costa. He's got a cool fucking hairdo here with like multicolors. Holy shit, he's rocking something different. Looks like the Fighting Nerd team, man. He's rocking that type of look here. And then we got the face-off between these two. I think Melquizael Costa knocks him out. He's going to be a bit more technical in the stand-up. He'll be slicker and a bit faster. And I feel like he can find the chin and put Steve Garcia to sleep here, even at lightweight, up a weight class, and a week later than it should have been. Odds for the fight, Melquizael Costa is minus 240 as the favorite. Steve Garcia is a plus 205 underdog. I like Melquizael Costa's chances to win. I'm riding with the minus 240 favorite. Over 1.5. I'll say it goes over at minus 115, but it definitely could go the opposite way. I don't love the betting side of the over-under. Costa to win by knockout, only sitting at plus 110. It's not impossible for him to win a decision at plus 315 either. Not the best betting spot value-wise here, but I think Melquizael Costa should beat Steve Garcia, and that's why he's a minus 240 favorite, because the bookies are seeing the same thing here between these guys. So Costa to get the win. Let's keep on running. Next fight on the card, it's Hyun Sung Park versus Shannon Ross. Listen, this fight should be about as clear-cut as it gets. Hyun Sung Park should be able to destroy Shannon Ross in a round. I'll pick Park to win by submission. Clear-cut advantage everywhere. Right now, Shannon Ross is on a 3-fight losing streak, all of them by knockout, but the reason I'm picking sub is I know Park does have a decent rear naked choke. Shannon Ross got submitted 5 fights ago against Steve Urseg outside of the UFC. And I think Park could sub him up. Now, it's not impossible for Park to chin him, but I think he could hurt Ross and then look to get it to the ground and win by submission. Ross is coming off of a horrible 17-second knockout loss against Jesus Aguilar as well. There's Shannon Ross, who, for a guy on a bad losing streak, looks happy to be there. He is in good shape. It's just, I think he's getting chinned, man. He's kind of looking like Mr. Peanut on the scale. He's got that type of head shape here, and I think his peanut head getting cracked by Hyun Sung Park. And then on the opposite side, we got Park, who is the road to the UFC winner, and I think has a lot of hype on him right now coming in and definitely should get the win. Then there's the face-off. Yeah, I'm picking Park. Park to get it done. There's a lot of damage that the side of Shannon Ross is also taken as of recent. He could get knocked out here, but I am going to pick submission because I'm just feeling a rear naked. On the opposite side of betting, right? Plus 500 for Ross, minus 700 for Park. You're making no money on a money line here. You're either long shot parlaying with Park at the end of it, or you're throwing Submission for Park is plus 200. It's better than the knockout prop that's plus 100. Park to win in the first round is minus 125. I do think he probably wins early, especially because we know he can start really fast. Under 1.5 is minus 200, though. I do think we're going under 1.5, though. Park should get the win. He's a big favorite. I'm calling submission in round 1. Next fight brings us to our featured prelim of the night. It's Kenan Song versus Kevin Jousset. I am picking Kevin Jousset to beat Kenan Song in this fight. I like the city kickboxer, man. He's French city kickboxing representative. Has, some similarities, you could say, even to the style of Izzy Adesanya and the way that he moves. And he does spar with Adesanya, so it makes sense he'd pick up, different patterns that Izzy has. I like his kickboxing game. I feel like Kenan Song still has power, and he's definitely a guy that I have overlooked before. And it's not that I'm overlooking Song Kenan here, but I know that the team of Kevin Jousset has a win over Song already, Israel Adesanya having beaten him. And I think they come up with a good game plan. I think Jousset out kickboxes him, and I think he'll stun him in the second or third round and end up knocking him out. I feel like Jousset's going to get a KO win. I'm going Jousset knockout. I think his movement is superior. Kicking from the outside is superior. Taller and longer. We'll check them out on the scales here and get a nice look if the scales are showing up for us. Yeah, we have the scales. This has never happened before. The scales have froze on me. MMA junkie glitching out for your boy. Let's bring it back. Let's see. All right. We'll zoom it in. And now we'll scroll it down. You know what? It is what it is. I'm just glad the page reloaded. All right. Scrolling down. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. And we are at Kevin Jousset. He looks shredded. He looks jacked. He looks ready for a good fight. And I expect him to win this fight here. And then we got Kenan Song on the opposite side, who, you know what, he looks in very good shape as well. There's the face-off. I'm picking Jousset. The scales are not telling a ton of the story here. I expected both guys to be in shape and looking intimidating on the scales. But I'm picking the side of Jousset to get this one done. I think he can win this fight. Looking at the odds for the fight, Jousset's a minus 160 favorite here. And then Kenan Song is a plus 135 underdog here. Give me Jousset by a second or third round knockout. Over 2.5, over 1.5 is minus 200. I think that's kind of live. Jousset by KO plus 250. I feel like he chins Song. So we're going Jousset by knockout in this fight here over Song. I see him getting it done, guys. I see him winning this thing. Riding with our Frenchman here. Riding with the French. Listen, Benoit Saint-Denis has started to really disprove the stereotype that French people are soft. There's some French savages, and I think Jousset's another one. Next fight brings us to our main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We got André Muniz versus Yong Park, the Iron Turtle. I'm picking the Iron Turtle. He's going to have the advantage in wrestling, specifically defensively here, against a very jiu-jitsu-minded fighter in André Muniz, who has excellent grappling when it gets to the floor, submission-wise. But I don't think he's submitted Yong Park. He definitely can't box with him. I feel like Park's going to beat up Muniz on the feet, and he's live for a TKO. And I could even see a gassed-out Muniz getting submitted by Yong Park, with Park having the mindset of, man, I want to make a statement by submitting out the, jiu-jitsu master who tapped out Jacare. Let's check out these guys on the scales here. There is André Muniz, obviously in very good shape. It's just his stand-up is so sloppy and slow. And then there's Yong Park, who honestly just looks like an average guy. But listen, the Iron Turtle doesn't have to look like a savage. Then there's the face-off. Very respectable, classy face-off with a lot of distance between these guys. A lot of bowing, too, between them both. I'm picking Park. Minus 175 for Park. Muniz plus 150. Looking at Park by TKO is plus 220. Park by sub plus 375. The sub line's not as good as it once was earlier on in the week. Over 1.5 is -160. We're probably going a bit longer into the fight, I'd assume. Park's hands are going to be on display. I think he shines in the striking department, and then stopping the wrestling of Muniz. Like, he's not a great wrestler, Muniz. Park's the better wrestler. Just the jiu-jitsu, I wouldn't even be surprised if Muniz pulls guard in this fight if he's really getting stuck on the feet, getting touched up. But doesn't matter. I think Park wins this thing. Let's go, Park for the win. Next fight on the card, we have Nasrat Haqparast versus Jamie Mullarkey. I'm picking Jamie Mullarkey as an underdog. I think he can out-kickbox Nasrat Haqparast, and I honestly feel like Nasrat's overrated. I've never been overly impressed with Nasrat. None of his performances are like, wow. Like last time, he beat Landon Quinones on a tough decision. Before that, took John Makdessi, has some losses prior to that. Jamie Mullarkey beat Makdessi on a close one last time out. Prior to that, he did get knocked out by Mohamed Naimov in a fight he was winning, and I understand Naimov is a featherweight, caught him with a good shot, but Nasrat's not known for punching power. I would say maybe Nasrat mixes in wrestling in this fight potentially, but I think Jamie Mullarkey is going to be tricky to deal with in the stand-up, and he gets a competitive decision win over Nasrat Haqparast. I'm picking Mullarkey, guys. We got weird bout order, man. We got the opposite bout order. Jamie Mullarkey on the scale, looking good and ready to go. Nasrat Haqparast looking like a shredded Kelvin Gastelum, but unfortunately for the Gastelum brothers, I think it's going to be back-to-back losses, man. I think it's going to be 2 weeks straight of L's for them. And let's be honest, man. Nasrat, lean and shredded, but has never showcased heavy hands. I don't think he has a ton of power, and he's given up a lot of height, and I think Mullarkey is decent enough. I know he's been a letdown a lot in the past before, but this stylistic matchup, I think he can get a hard-fought win. So I'm picking Mullarkey for the W. Plus 161 for Mullarkey as a dog. Minus 186 for Haqparast as the favorite. Over 2.5 is minus 190. Mullarkey to win by a decision in this fight. He's sitting at plus 400. Just money line it. Just money line it. We're probably going over 2.5 at minus 190. I think Mullarkey's getting a competitive win on the judges' scorecards, 29-28. We might be looking at a split decision, but I'm picking the Mullarkey side as a dog to get it done. I see it here. I've been seeing it all week. I'm riding with him. I'm riding with Mullarkey. Next fight brings us to our featured bout of the night. It's Sumudaerji versus Tim Elliott. And I might be a menace to society because Tim Elliott came in on short notice, and I went and I said, fuck it, I'm going lock of the week, Tim Elliott, because I see a clear-cut, strong wrestling and grappling advantage. And if anybody can keep a high pace on short notice, it's Tim Elliott. I expect him to be ready to fight here and give Sumudaerji a tricky fight. It's not like Elliott's ever been known to be chinny. Sumudaerji's ground skills are very questionable. He has submission losses. He's gotten controlled on the floor. And I think Tim Elliott's the perfect guy to give him hell with a pressure onslaught of grappling and wrestling. So give me Elliott to pull it off. As far as the scales, let's check them out. We got to go the opposite direction. We got Sumudaerji, slim, tall, and long, a kickboxer's frame, which I think is going to be difficult to deal with Tim Elliott. There's Tim on weight, on point, even on short notice. He gave Mokaev a real tricky out last time. And then there's the face-off between these two. I think Tim Elliott can do it. I mean, I don't like that he's leaning backwards here. Body language-wise, you got to slightly give it to Sumudaerji for holding his ground better, whereas Elliott's leaning back. But I think Tim Elliott can outpace him with wrestling. He's going to land a lot of takedowns here, and I feel like he can win this fight. Even on short notice, I think he gets it done. As far as the odds, close line, minus 136 for Elliott. Plus 116 for Sumudaerji. I'm going with Tim. Over 2.5 is plus 100. I think there's a real shot we're going over. And also, Elliott to win by a decision is plus 200. I would just rather, say money line it, but you do get plus action for Elliott winning by decision. Not like it's impossible for him to get a sub, but of his last 5 fights, he hasn't gotten a sub win. Did outwork Tagir Ulanbekov and get a W over him. I think he can outwork Sumudaerji. Veteran status type of fighter here with Elliott. Not that Sumudaerji doesn't have a ton of fights, but Elliott's been at the UFC level forever, it feels like now. Ultimate Fighter winner too. And I'm going Tim Elliott to get a decision here over Sumudaerji with a tricky style, that gives Sumudaerji a lot of difficulty, specifically in the clinch, on the floor, in the wrestling department. Those factors all favor to Tim Elliott, and that's why I'm picking Tim. Let's go. Tim Elliott for the win. Next fight on the card, it brings us to our co-main event of the evening. We have Anthony Smith versus Khalil Rountree. I've been picking Anthony Smith as an underdog, and I'm picking him to win by submission here. I just feel as though Khalil Rountree, I don't want to say he's overrated. He's on a 4-fight win streak, but nonetheless, no one that he has beaten on that 4-fight win streak is near the level of Anthony Smith. His Dustin Jacoby win, which was his most impressive on paper, ultimately was a controversial decision. And I feel as though Lionheart Anthony Smith can kickbox with the likes of Khalil Rountree, avoid his big power shots because Smith is not known to be chinny. He's got good recovery ability that even he showcased against Ryan Spann after being badly hurt in that fight, and his grappling advantage is clear. I think he can get this fight to the floor, and I think he submits Khalil Rountree. So I'm going Anthony Smith by sub as an underdog in this fight. Now, as far as them on the scales, Smith coming in on a little bit of short notice. Originally, last week was when Khalil was supposed to fight Azmat Mirzakhanov. Let's scroll down to these guys. There's Khalil, who's absolutely jacked, as we expect. And he's on a nice knockout, last time. He got a nice knockout last time. He's got a lot of knockouts in his past few wins. There's Anthony Smith, who, doesn't look shredded or sick on the scale, but it's Anthony Smith. And then there's the face-off between these two. Listen, I think Anthony Smith's taking this fight because he's looking at it like this. If I can win here, maybe I can call for a title shot against Alex Pereira because nobody's available, and he feels like he has a substantial skill set advantage on the ground that maybe he thinks he can showcase. I respect Anthony Smith jumping in to this spot on short notice, looking to get a win. Now, I don't think it's likely he gets a title shot because he's not the most deserving guy. But you never know. Marlon Vera's fighting for the belt because no one else is available. And he's got a loss to Corey Sandhagen, the real top contender. Yeah, I'm picking Anthony Smith to pull this one off, guys. I think he's got a good chance to win by sub. He's being slept on. They're doubting our guy, Anthony Smith. Smith is a plus 165 underdog. Khalil is a minus 190 favorite. Give me Lionheart Anthony Smith. I'm going with the underdog. Over 1.5 is plus 105. It's live, but Smith could submit him in the first. We've seen Khalil lose fights on the ground, man, and I think people are forgetting that. They're looking at his knockout of Chris Daukaus. This is not Chris Daukaus who he's fighting. It's Anthony Smith. Plus 500 for Smith by sub. D-Gen prop, I like it. Plus 500, I'm picking Smith by sub. He's a great underdog. I'm picking him to win this fight. I think he beats Khalil Rountree. And he holds his spot in that top 10, sending back tough Khalil, man. And, Anthony Smith got a ton of fight experience at this point, and I understand he's got a lot of miles. But I still think he can perform here in this fight here with Khalil, man. I know Khalil's got crazy heavy kicks. I know he hits really hard. But I've seen Khalil take a lot of L's. I've been watching Khalil his entire UFC career, including his tough run. He lost by submission to Hendricks there. I think here with Anthony Smith, he's live to get subbed up. So I'm going Smith by submission. Great co-main event. Next fight is our main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We got Yadong Song, aka Song Yadong, depending at how you rhyme it. You know what I'm saying? Some books, they have it as song, some is Yadong. But ultimately, I'm picking the side of Chris Gutierrez to beat him, so the name doesn't matter. And I know a lot of people are going to say, AJ, you are a wild menace for that. You disrespected Song's name and you're picking against him. I feel like Chris Gutierrez has the kickboxing to give Song a lot of difficulty. I feel as though his leg kicks are going to be a substantial factor, and he is going to be on that bicycle, and I think he's got the gas to move a lot throughout this fight. I spoke about this yesterday on my live stream. I said, guys, I think that in the fourth round, a knee up the center for Gutierrez is possible. I think he's going to be chopping at the legs of Song. He'll avoid the big power strikes, and that's not to say that Song doesn't catch him with a hook and land the flash knockdown, but I don't think he's putting the lights out of Chris Gutierrez. And the leg is going to be chopped up by Gutierrez. The movement is going to be consistent by Gutierrez. And I think he can pull this one off. I think he's way too wide of a dog, too. I think the lines are crazy. Let's check these guys out on the scales. Let's check these savages out. There is Chris Gutierrez. Looks good, rocking the multi-flags right there. In shape, ready to go. Does look about 42 years old, but I think it's just the angle. And then Song Yadong kind of's got like a Men in Black slash like Blues Brothers look with the shades on. I mean, he looks pretty cool. I can't knock Song. He's definitely got the swagger here. Then we got a nose-to-nose face-off. Okay, my analysis is there is ever so slight an advantage for Song, slightly shifting backwards is Gutierrez. Like body language-wise, a little bit towards Song. He's confident, hands on the hips. Maybe he's overconfident. Maybe he's overlooking Chris Gutierrez because I heard Song already mention Petr Yan. And I think Gutierrez can pull off an upset here. I'm picking Gutierrez, guys. I'm going with the underdog. I'm going against the grain. Maybe I'm nuts. Maybe I'm delusional. Or maybe I'm absolutely on point. And this fight right here ends up being one of those great upsets. We shall find out. Minus 370 for Song. Just never sounds right to me here. And then Gutierrez is a plus 295 dog. I think he can win. Over 3.5 is minus 145. Gutierrez to win by a knockout. What is that? Plus 700. And Gutierrez decision is plus 550. Best bet is just money lining Gutierrez if you like the dog. If you don't like it, I understand. Let me know in the comments. Am I delusional for this pick? Or do you guys see what I'm saying? Because I know earlier on in the week, some people were on my side. Some, I'm saying, because the vast majority were not. And I've heard it. I've gotten some flack for it. We shall see when the cage door closes on Saturday. And listen, if you're against me and you want to see me wrong here, you'll tune into that Fight Companion and you can witness it all live. We'll go head to head. I'm picking the side of Gutierrez. Maybe I'm nuts, but I think his movement's on point. His leg kicks are going to be there. I think he's more mobile than Song from range, especially as we get later into a fight with a lot of leg kick damage accumulated on Song. He's going to lose punching power and he's going to lose that pep in the step. And I don't see him out wrestling Gutierrez and just bullying him on the ground. So I think Chris Gutierrez pulls off a massive upset. And it blows my mind how somehow Song Yadong is still 26. I feel like he's been 26 for the past 7 years. Absolute savage fight. It's actually a really good main event. This card is not kind of got a lot of steam behind it. I think it's flying under the radar, but this is a really good fight. Chris Gutierrez for the W upset. I'm against the grain this weekend, but we're not done just yet. We got to talk about these post-weigh-in parlays. I've been waiting for this post-weigh-in parlay segment throughout the entire week because after the weigh-ins, I think is when everything really makes sense, right? Everything just lines up more nicely and you can get even a better feel than you had before of all the calls. So post weigh-in, what are we looking at here? All right, well, Park, if he doesn't win, they might as well just end his UFC career. That's it. I don't see him losing here. I don't see Park taking an L by any means. Am I strange for really feeling the side of Stephanie Egger in a high confidence favorite and an underdog pick here at plus 161? Dos Santos plus 319. Anthony Smith plus 1,031. Tim Elliott plus 1,900. Elliott, Smith, Dos Santos, Egger, Park plus 1,900. I think this one's actually live as hell. This right here is my D-Gen parlay of the week post weigh-in. This is what I'm feeling post weigh-in, degenerate status. I think this makes a lot of sense, man. Now, I'm going to clear the lineup and do a little bit of a less degenerate one, but still, I'll still have some degen activity. If we just go with Tim Elliott and we go with Park, plus 106, now I got plus money for Tim, and I think he's got a real good chance of winning here. If you want to take the lock out, you don't want to go with Tim Elliott, and you just want to go two fighters, you go Taira, Park, and then you add in an underdog. Maybe you're like, listen, I see what you're saying with Lionheart, plus 268. Jamie Mullarkey, another underdog that I like here, plus 856. You don't want him. Just Park, Taira, and Mullarkey, plus 254. Now we add Elliott in. We break into the plus 500 zone. Smith is plus 15 now. Melquizael Costa, plus 2,200. Add in the side of the ladies fight between Dos Santos, and then you go Egger as well. Now you got plus 8,250. I'm going D-Gen activity here. It just always goes D-Gen. I can't avoid it, man. All right, let's see. Melquizael Costa, Tim Elliott. Okay? Plus 144. These guys really have a chance to get a win. Don't want my lock. Don't want to ride with it. I understand he came in on short notice. I get what people are thinking. Minus 114. Costa, Park, Taira. I like this one a lot less because, you know, it's not really all that badass. Plus 320. Dos Santos plus 573. See if we take Costa out, what are we at? And let's say if we even took Edgar out. We still get plus money on this one. Dos Santos, Taira, Park. It's got a good chance. Then you just throw one dog with it. Plus 467 with Mullarkey. And then if Anthony Smith also came through, now we got plus 1400. Tim Elliott plus 26. It's a lot of ways to wrap this thing up, man. What if we just go straight underdog? What if I just pick two dogs here? What if we just went with Edgar, whose opponent missed weight, and we went with Jamie Mullarkey, who's got a chance, plus 482. Now, because Jamie Mullarkey is very inconsistent, let's take him out real quick and use Anthony Smith. We got plus 505 for Smith and Edgar. I'm kind of feeling this one, too. With Tim Elliott, the lock, plus 970. And then we add in Park, plus 1148. I think this one's a good way to close it out, man. Rayani Dos Santos is making a lot of sense to me, though. Like, Rayani Dos Santos and Tim Elliott could end up being an A1 parlay. Let's see what Rayani and Tim is. Rayani and Tim is plus 184. Interesting notes. Jun Young Park, Iron Turtle, Rayani, Tim, and underdog Anthony Smith, plus 1,000. Underdog Stephanie Edgar, plus 2. We'll take him out, plus 878. Yeah, we're getting carried away here. But guys, you get what I'm thinking. You know where the ideas are at. You saw the degen activity. You see the safety protocols. Ultimately, I think we got a damn good card underway this Saturday. Don't miss the Fight Companion. I can't wait to be live for the whole thing. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the picks. Drop me some of your favorite picks. I want to hear. What do you think of mine? Drop me your parlays this week. I want to know what the people are thinking. I appreciate you all for watching. Smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn the post notifications on. And don't just leave them on personalized. Put them on all so you don't miss a video, because I got daily content dropping on the channel that you don't want to miss. Much love to everybody. Also, if you got nothing to say in the comments, but you just enjoy the content, as always, drop a W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. Hey, thank you guys. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.